In today's Leeds news, Gladbach want permanent Wober move, no ticket agreement for Blackburn, Harry Gray next on City's radar, Bamford's mentor role, and more detail on Finley Gorman move. Morning folks, Jay here on the 15th of November, Wednesday, with your Leeds United news. Hope you're all having a really good week so far. I'm going to get through this. I'll probably stutter a bit and fall over myself. I'm sick again. I can't stop getting sick right now, but yeah, it's kicking the crap out of me. So bear with me as we get through this. The one a week as well. We are 500 subscribers off of 20,000, which is nuts. Absolutely nuts. I can't thank everybody enough for supporting the channel. But if you want to continue to support the one a week, if you do like the channel, if you do want to keep this going and help me out here, help me to grow, you can do so by subscribing to the channel and liking the video. We're 500 off 20,000. That'd be a huge milestone to get to that. I never thought we'd get anywhere near. So massive thanks to everyone who has subscribed, watched videos, agreed or disagreed with me. It's all good. So we'll crack on today. We'll get into the news. We'll start off with Borussia Mönchengladbach. And according to German outfit Kicker, they are saying that the German side Borussia Mönchengladbach want to turn Max Wober's loan move into a permanent move. Wober joined Leeds back in January last year for £10 million, and Leeds will look to recoup the bulk of that money in a move should it come in January. Leeds are said to be willing to accept a £10 million offer to break even for the player. Gladbach currently in 9th position in the league, not far off where they were when Daniel Farke was in charge last year in 10th position, but they have only won 3 games of 11 matches so far this season. I've said it all year, Gladbach are not having a fantastically good season, but Max Wober is having a very good season for them. Wober has been called out by the club for high praise. His leadership skills as well as his battling performances have been noted by the chairman. The chairman himself even went on to say that the club lack what he brings to that team amongst the remainder of the squad. So when Max isn't in the squad, they lack the characteristics that he brings to the team. So they would like to make that move permanent. They may look at making the move permanent in January to try and stave off any interest that might come in for the player at the end of the season. Bearing in mind again, reminder, should Leeds not get promoted, the loan clauses for these players will still be in effect next season, which means Wober can pick and choose where he goes in the back of a very good season in the Bundesliga. So Gladbach might want to lock him down before any other Bundesliga clubs come in for the player. Also, quick side note, Brendan Aronson's manager at Union Berlin has been fired. They're rock bottom of the league, really struggling. There's a lot of rumours that they might be looking to bring in new players in January. I'm not sure what the situation is around Aronson's loan, whether they can cancel it or whether he can cancel it or cancelled at all. Probably not known Leeds. So yeah, it's an interesting one to keep an eye on. We will. Moving on, a quick one to update people on ticket detail for the Blackburn game that's coming up. Leeds and Blackburn have not agreed a reciprocal deal for travelling fans, which means Leeds fans will have to pay £30 per person to go and watch that game in Ewood Park. However, there is some good news. Blackburn are making 7,337 tickets available. Blackburn have been struggling with crowds this season. They haven't been filling their stadium, and it looks like they're giving Leeds an entire stand to themselves, which will definitely increase the atmosphere and level the playing field for Leeds on an away game that might end up feeling more like a home game than it normally does. So that's an interesting one to keep an eye on. Moving on what a week of exits has been for Leeds, with Michael Skubala heading to Lincoln City and Finley Gorman heading to Manchester City. Now team talk, so huge pinch of salt with this. There's not a lot of detail, but it's a very obvious story. I said I'd cover it, but it's a very obvious one to do. Team talk are reporting that Manchester City are not done with raiding the Leeds United Academy just yet, and they are claiming that Manchester City are now planning to make a move for Leeds United youngster Harry Gray, the younger brother of Archie Gray, in the first team. There's no further information on this. It just says that City are interested. They're also apparently looking at a fullback from Leeds as well. All the money Manchester City put in their academy, they still have to go and raid other people's academies for players. Isn't that mad? And we'll get to Finley Gorman in a bit more detail. There's more detail coming out today about Finley Gorman, and we want to go into that in a bit more detail. Have I said detail enough? A bit more detail. There we go. Let's move on to the second last story of the day, and we'll talk about Patrick Bamford's role at the club. And Glenn Kamara, speaking with the official Leeds United podcast on YouTube this week, has talked about Patrick Bamford moving more into a mentor role behind the scenes and helping out the younger players, which is exactly what you want to see from the senior pros involved at the club. Kamara said that Bamford has moved more to a mentor role and is helping Jorginho Rutter despite his own lack of minutes in the team at the moment. He said that Bamford has been speaking an awful lot about where his positioning should be in and around the box. We've seen over the last couple of weeks Rutter being probably higher as a number 9, where I kind of felt he was playing as a false 9, false 10, whatever you want to call it. Recently, we're dropping into deep positions to get the ball, but he's now commented saying that he's spending a lot of time working with Jorginho around the edge of the box, pointing out areas that he can pick up before somebody says it about Bamford's finishing in the in the comments, this is about positioning, not finishing. So Bamford's positioning tends to be really good because he tends to get in positions that he should score from. So it's the finishing that lets him down. And Jorginho is struggling with his finishing right now as well. So any kind of advice he can get is very welcomed. Kamara says that everyone in the club helps everyone in the club, but has pointed out that he has seen Patrick speaking to Jorginho on a regular basis, giving him advice around what he should do in and around the box. It's really nice to see that. It's nice to see the experienced players, which you'd imagine they would be doing, but not every senior pro does give back. But it is nice to see the senior players spending time with the younger players, trying to help them to get better. And this is what I said at the start of the season. This is what everyone says when they say, I don't want to see the older players leave the club immediately. There's a lot of information and knowledge that they can pass on that will help the younger players avoid mistakes that they have made in their careers. So it is an important role. It is important for pros when they get to a certain age to start giving back before they move on. So nice to see Patrick Bamford doing that, and nice to hear the club are promoting that internally, and everyone's helping everyone. It's great to see. More detail on Finley Gorman's move, and this came as a bit of a shock earlier in the week. I suppose it probably shouldn't have, given that he's a schoolboy, and he's been very, 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 very good this year. Phil Hay has done a long read on The Athletic. I'm not going to give you the whole lot of it because it's an Athletic story. Go check them out if you want the full detail, but I will give you the clip notes of this and we'll go through a bit of it. Phil Hay has done a long read, as I said, about Finley Gorman's move from Leeds United. In The Athletic, he has confirmed that Manchester City have been watching Finley Gorman for quite a while and had been sending scouts before the Twitter universe got hold of Finley Gorman's clips and started sharing them around. That Man City have been regular attendees at Leeds United's game. He also went on to say that on Monday, the Athletic did confirm this move and did point out that it was all done and dusted, bar a few Premier League checks that needed to take place. As previously stated, it is a 7-figure fee that appears to have been agreed between the two clubs and the player, which would be a British record for a player of that age. The contract is said to be a long-term contract with add-ons and incentives, which, if Gorman fulfills his potential, could see Leeds net up to or in excess of £5 million, which doesn't sound like a huge amount of money given what I'm going to tell you next. Gorman hadn't signed pro terms at Leeds because he's only just gone 15, cannot sign pro terms till you're 17. He also hadn't signed up to a scholarship agreement at the club either at this point. Again, at his age, I would imagine it would have been something that would happen next year, similar to what happened actually a couple of years ago, which means Leeds were in a situation where they could either let the player just go, because it really is a decision between the family and the new club. It's not really a decision for Leeds at all to get involved. They don't have a whole lot of say in the situation. But as a schoolboy, player can just go if he wants to go. We can go. So Leeds are in a situation where they could either go down the route of compensation, which would have been significantly less money than they're getting from a fee here, or negotiate a fee with Manchester City to give Leeds something back. If Finley Gorman makes it, $5 million will be seen as an absolute daylight robbery, being honest about it, if he does live up to his potential. If he doesn't live up to his potential but does manage to tick off a few of those boxes, Leeds will get a few million quid in for a player that they sold at a very young age. It's a tricky one. It's one of these ones that I don't think many Leeds fans will be happy about. I'm not happy about it, but given the context that there really was very little the club could do about this, I'm sure they're kicking themselves behind the scenes as well. The club, as I said, have very little they can do with the situation, but the article also points out that Manchester City viewed Finley Gorman as a generational talent and a player they just had to sign, that they couldn't leave go any longer, that they had to bring him in at this stage. We've talked about this before on the podcast. Last week specifically, we talked about younger players and this as well. One of the interesting pieces to talk about with this is then bringing in a player like that, he will go into a pool with similar type players. He's expected to go into under 16 side there. There's no guarantee that he'll get the same development. We've seen this with younger players leave Leeds before and not fulfill their full potential. So it's not a guarantee. But if you look at why Manchester City are looking at buying players at 14, 15 and paying millions for these players, is if you wait till they're 20, 21, 22 and you find out you're in a situation with a Jude Bellingham or an Erling Haaland, all of a sudden that player's worth 100 million, 150 million. So you go a bit earlier, you bring him into your academy setup much younger, and you pay the minimum amount of money you can pay, which is still in the millions. And probably 7-8 years ago, we probably put your hand off for 5 million for a kid, but in the situation that we're in, the situation that he is in, it's a tough one for Leeds to take. But we'll keep an eye on that, and I'll give you more information on the Harry Gray situation should it come up as well. With the podcast this week will be Thursday night. We record it Thursday night, so available for members tomorrow night and everybody else on Friday. And then we'll do something over the weekend, I'm sure, as well, with no games and the international break coming up. So that's the news for me today. Thanks everyone very much for supporting the channel and helping me get to the situation that we're in right now. We're so close to 20k, and I really, really appreciate everyone's help with this. Thank you. Have a great day, and I will talk to you tomorrow for more Leeds news. See you then. Bye.